Hi, friends. Today we want to discuss the story of one of the most controversial queens of England, Mary I, or Mary Tudor, or Bloody Mary, and see if she was really a cruel and bloodthirsty person, as historians say or not. Mary I of England was born in February 1516 as the first child of Henry VIII, King of England, and Catherine of Aragon, Queen of Henry I and daughter of the King of Spain. After some time, the relationship between Mary's parents became dark due to Catherine's inability to give birth to a son, and Henry finally decided to divorce Catherine. But according to the Christian rules of that time, the Catholic Church was against divorce, and with Henry's insistence, the Pope excommunicated him. And in response, Henry became a supporter of the Protestant religion and made the Church of England independent, and then divorced Catherine and married Anne Boleyn, Catherine's servant, who was pregnant by Henry, and had a daughter named Elizabeth. 3 years later, Henry moved Catherine to Kimbolton Palace and forbade her to see Mary, and Catherine died of cancer a year later without ever seeing her daughter. Sometime later, Henry VIII also executed Anne Boleyn for the crime of adultery, and this time he married Anne Boleyn's maid, Jane Seymour, who gave birth to a son named Edward from this marriage, and Henry's dream of having a son came true, although his wife died during childbirth. During this period, after the loss of her mother, Marie considered the Catholic religion as her only refuge and spent most of her time on religious activities. She once said that she was willing to lose the kingdom of 10 lands, but keep her faith. Henry VIII died in 1947, and his only son succeeded as Edward VI, and as he was not yet ready to rule, his uncle was appointed regent. Unlike Mary, Edward followed the Protestant religion and united with his other sister Elizabeth against Mary, and even forbade her to perform the Mass. But she said that she was willing to go to the gallows, but did not obey this order. And finally, because of Mary's relationship with Charles V and with the mediation of the Royal Council, the issue was resolved. But due to the pressure of the Protestants in England, with the intensity of anti-Catholic feelings, many customs of the Catholic religion were cancelled, and, for example, priests were allowed to marry, and Catholics were persecuted throughout England. But these reforms in rural areas, where people still adhered to old customs, together with famine and unemployment, caused a series of rural rebellions, which were suppressed after a while. But following this rebellion of the viceroy, whom the people blamed for the rebellions, and different classes were dissatisfied with him, he was handed over to the guillotine. After this, Lord John Dudley became the head of the Royal Council with the title of Duke of Northumberland, and started killing and persecuting the Catholics with more brutality. But sometime later, Edward fell ill, and because it was felt that the king would not survive the illness and the Catholic Mary would succeed him, John Dudley nominated Lady Jane Grey, Henry VII's granddaughter, as Edward VI's successor. And even a will was taken from Edward when he was ill, and after the death of Edward, the Duke of Northumberland introduced her as the Queen. But the people loved Mary and Elizabeth more and considered the monarchy as their legal right. In addition, Marie was not someone who could be dismissed so easily. Mary was a true Spaniard who had the courage and strength of faith and religious fanaticism, and the Catholics, who were still a great power in England, also supported him. Mary also promised to give freedom to the Protestants. When Mary arrived in London, people celebrated and different states sent troops to support her, and the Royal Council, seeing itself defeated, sent 4 trumpeters and a herald to the city to officially announce that Mary was the Queen of England. And Mary triumphantly entered London on horseback with her sister Elizabeth and ordered the execution of the Duke of Northumberland and delivered Lady Jane Grey to the guillotine after 6 months in prison. Mary came to power in a situation where London was full of Protestants, and even the Catholics were looking for some form of national Catholicism and did not want to come under the Pope's rule. On the other hand, a group of people who gained wealth and power by buying confiscated church properties were also against the Roman Catholic religion. And in addition to these groups, married priests were also afraid of being dominated by the Pope because they would lose their wives. But Mary, who was involved in extreme religious prejudices, tried to impose her decisions on the English without considering these people. And in her first parliament, she required the administration of communion in Latin and ordered the expulsion of married priests. The first act that separated Mary from the people of England was her marriage, because she decided against the wishes of the royal council and the nobles who wanted her to marry an Englishman, to marry Philip, the crown prince of Spain, according to the wishes of Charles V. Many nobles were against this marriage due to the fact that Spain was a powerful empire at that time, and England was in a weak state for various reasons, and they were afraid that England would also be under the rule of Charles V, who had almost half of Europe at that time. And in addition, the Protestants were afraid that the Spanish Inquisition courts, which burned non-Catholics alive, would be established in this country as well. But the nobles could not satisfy Mary, and the Spanish ambassador, by distributing gold among the royal council members, was able to satisfy them that this marriage would take place with conditions such as that Philip would behave according to English customs, and that England would not be involved in the wars between France and Spain. Finally, the marriage ceremony was held in February 1554 at Westchester Palace, and Philip brought 20 carloads of gold bullion from American mines to England in order to attract the attention of the English people, and he pressured Mary in only one case, and that was to establish a relationship with the Catholic Church. And with Mary's consent, a representative from the Pope came to England, and the Parliament of England ordered a general amnesty, and all the representatives asked for God's forgiveness, and England became a Catholic country again. In fact, Mary had a false pregnancy due to her great desire to have a child, and this event finally drove Mary to a state close to madness. After this, Philip also left England to command his army in the war with France, and Mary, who was deeply in love with Philip, became more depressed. Mary believed that all these events were due to the Protestants and their disbelief, and for this reason, he ordered to kill them during the Inquisition courts, and more than 300 people were burned alive, and the people and nobles of England also lost their last sparks of hope for Mary. And after Mary fell ill, they left her alone and gathered around Elizabeth, and Mary finally died alone on November 17th, 1558. Mary Tudor should be seen as a pathetic example of women whose combination of power and bigotry has caused them great harm and led them to destruction. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and tell us what you think about Mary I in comment section. Until next time.